Welcome back to feature coverage of the Emerald Coast Poker Run 2017 with members of the Florida Powerboat Club. This is Stu Jones, and we've got highlights now moving into episode number 3 of our 4-part series. And it's a very special occasion this year because it's the celebration of a 25th edition of the Emerald Coast Poker Run. When we left off on the last episode, we were on the Saturday Poker Run, and we had covered a number of checkpoints in the Bay Area around Destin and Sandestin, all the way up to Shalimar and Niceville. But now it's time to head west on the course, so we're going to pick the boats up as we cross through the Fort Walton Channel in downtown Fort Walton Beach and head westbound on the course all the way to Pensacola Beach.
Emerald Coast Poker Run 2017! Woo!
Now we're up in the helicopter getting some high-level shots here. Now look on the background, that is obviously Crab Island, the area's hotspot as far as anchoring all weekend long, Saturdays and Sundays. And here's a shot of Niceville Fire Rescue and their fireboat. They're part of our safety management program, and they're putting on a little show. The biggest boat registered on the run, this 80-foot Sunseeker belonging to John Contos. We caught a shot of him. Look at, he's on his anchor, and he's actually just hanging out, watching all the boats go by. Not sure he's going to make it all the way to Pensacola Beach. I think that boat draws a lot of water. I know they could certainly make it, but I think they're just kicking back here on a hook where they have a front row seat to the entire poker run as all the boats pass by on the course. I've been doing this event for about 20 years, and I think this is the biggest boat that I've ever seen on the Emerald Coast Poker Run roster. Now here's a very familiar sight on the Emerald Coast Poker Run. 2 cats out for some little playtime as they cross Choctawhatchee Bay. This is a very familiar sight because these waters are ideal for catamarans of all size, from 25 foot all the way up to 50 foot. And one of the big guys running today, Brian Shelton from Indiana. It's 40-foot MTI. Brian has been here a number of times in the past, and we congratulate him for winning the poker run a year earlier. Brian and his crew took home that Ford F-150 pickup truck sponsored by Hub City Ford from Crestview. Also want to congratulate Brian on his new boat. This is a 2008 40-foot MTI powered by Mercury Racing 700s. It's new to Brian. It's the first time he's brought it on the poker run, and it's also the first time he was able to bring the kids for the poker run, and that's probably one of the reasons he's just taking it easy. Now we're catching up with Chris Blackwell from Texas in his 38-foot Formula. It's a 2000 model, 382, Mercury Racing 500 EFIs. He's joined by Norma Blackwell, Billy Mays, and Jody Lewis. So hope you guys are having a good time. They commented in the video bio that it was an awesome run. And what do they like about powerboating? Getting wet. Well, looks like you're not getting wet today, guys. You're keeping it dry, at least for the time being. But stick around. Remember, this is Florida. I guarantee you it's going to rain by about 4 o'clock. Unfortunately, having a hard time identifying this team. It's got a decal on the deck, and it's got Florida Powerboat Club decals on the side. But I think this is a registered boat from the previous year. Guys, if you want to come out and join us for the Emerald Coast Poker Run, you got to register each year. You don't register once and it holds you for life. I'm sorry. But love to have you guys supporting this event. That's how we raise money for the charity. Slowing things down just a little bit as we head now into the Fort Walton Channel and through the Brooks Bridge. There's one of our headquarter marinas, Brooks Bridge Marina. It's empty right now. That's because all you guys are out on the poker run. Next checkpoint right here at Adventure Marina, just on the opposite side of the bridge. Looks like they're pretty busy right now. See a lot of our poker run boats stopping by to get a poker card. Adventure Marina has been involved in this event for many, many years. They have a fuel dock and a ship store, and for those of us who are lucky enough to register early, they do have a few in-water slips, which is a great location if you're registered for the poker run. Looks like Brandy and Kayla are doing their job as they pick up the next card. Brandy's holding up the sign so that she can identify the boat number. And Kayla's doing her job. That's reaching out for that lucky poker card. Once again, want to thank our sponsor, Midnight Express, Eric Glazer, giving us a nice center console, Midnight Express, for the girls to ride on their first Emerald Coast Poker Run. Now let's get back with our aerial team as they head further to the west end of the course. And you can see the terrain has changed quite a bit over here. We're now close to Santa Rosa Sound. And now we're catching up with Robbie Eula from Georgia. He's in his 30-foot glass stream. We met Robbie Last year on this event, he brought the same boat. And by the way, this is one of the boats that's made right here in the Florida Panhandle, comes from Panama City Beach. When Robbie's not out playing with the boat, he takes his family on a go-kart racing tour all over the country. Big shout out to the U.S. Coast Guard Station Destin. They've got several boats out on the course today, helping us with our safety management. There's one of our Ruby class boats. He held up his number, but I'm afraid we don't have the list of boats. We can identify you, but I know it's a Chris Craft. It's a great looking boat. Looks like they're ready to crank the speed up a little and hopefully get a couple of nice shots. So I got to say, these guys should get an award for their spirit, because you can tell they're just having a fantastic day of boating here on the Emerald Coast Poker Run. And here's another boat that should get an award for team spirit. There's no decal on the boat, so we can't identify them, but Team Rum Runner looks like they're out having a great day today. And the only reason I know that is because the passenger in the back seat has got her arms up and she's waving, saying, "Hey, we're having a blast today," as she apparently is working on her tan. Time to catch up with Homer Walden from Florida, a 31-foot Chaparral SSX, one of their very, very popular day boat models. Boy, this company's come a long way, and I know that Homer and his friends are really enjoying this boat. I think it's a perfect day boat. If you look at all the bow rider room, a huge cockpit, nice little lounge to sit in, and then on the back you've got a big swim platform, and up top on the arch, a nice big cover to get you out of the sun. So I think it's got my vote for a perfect day boat for up here in the Florida Panhandle. And thanks for joining us, guys, on the Emerald Coast Run. Catching up with Brad Hancock now, all the way from Georgia. He's an avid poker runner, been on a lot of Florida Powerboat Club events, and he's been here in the Panhandle before. But he's really enjoying this new Nortec 477 SBX. It's powered by Mercury Racing 1350s. It's atop of the food chain in the Nortec V-bottom world. I've been on this boat before. You can tell he's running fast, probably clicking close to 100 right now, and plenty of room to go. And when he's not going fast, back in Georgia, he's got a 107-foot houseboat on Lake Lanier. Time for the most patriotic boat on the poker run, Team Screaming Eagle Sports, this 34-foot Sea Rocket with this amazing Patriot graphic paint job. Very popular boat here in the Florida Panhandle. Actually, he's a commercial operator. He does rides on this Sea Rocket. So if you don't have a poker run boat to enter in the run, Barry's the guy you got to call, because he'll make that ride happen for you. Thanks for joining us, Barry. Quick shot as we head further west now, looking down on Team Max Bitter. I know we're going to catch up with them just a little later in the show for full-framed aerials. And speaking of full-framed, doesn't get much better than that. Here's Jerry Swanson in his big monster skater, a 46 skater called Team Terrible. Big Sterling engines, supercharged Sterlings, about 1,550 horsepower per side. They're not even cranked up yet. I mean, these guys are on cruise control right now. Wait till they hit the throttles and really pick up some speed. Jerry is an avid collector of powerboats, and if you don't believe me, stick around just a little longer, because you're about to see the entire Jerry Swanson fleet. And here we go. Just listen to the roar of those Sterling engines. And another rooster tail on the horizon. Let's get a closer look. It's Jerry Swanson's Terrible 2. So yes, we just saw Terrible 1, the red skater. Now we're going to see the 50-foot skater, also powered by big Sterling supercharged V8s. And I believe that he has Mike D'Annabelle, the engine builder, the owner of Sterling Engines from Michigan, who is his guest here at the Poker Run for the weekend. So Mike D'Annabelle riding along and enjoying his first Emerald Coast Poker Run. And then here's yet number 3, the 41-foot AMG Cigarette. It's powered by Mercury Racing 1100s. It's a one-off boat, a Cigarette 41 GTR model. Most of these would be equipped with outboards, but Cigarette built a couple with stern drives. This was the second one. This one with a pair of Mercury Racing 1100s, and it's spec'd out to 104 miles an hour. And it actually went to Lotto last year and proved it by setting a new record. So very interesting boat. Jerry liked it and bought it. Now it's one of his 3 high-performance boats. A lot of teams here from Georgia. Here's 2 more at the bottom of the screen in the 32 Sensation. That's Todd Kirkland. He's been on this run before. And in the background, in that 40 Baja, that's Scott Rufus. So these guys are just having a great time today, running alongside. This is what it's all about, guys. This is how you have fun. We're going to try to catch up with Rick and Charlene Milstead now. And when I say try, well, this is one fast 36 Nortec Supercat. I love the roar of those engines, and I love the colors of this boat. And Rick's been in a lot of different boats over the years. We've known him for probably almost 2 decades. Started out with a fountain, moved into an eliminator for a while, but this Nortec Super Cat is keeping him happy because we've seen it around now for several years, and I don't think he's got any plans to change it real soon. Loving this boat and enjoying poker runs all over the Gulf Coast here, and he keeps coming back to this event year after year. Good to have you guys back again. Now let's say hi to one of our local teams, Ross Shipley here from Florida in his 35-foot fountain, and they have got the bimini top up, and I agree with them. This is the way you got to do it, guys. You're in the middle of August here in the Florida Panhandle, and it is hot, and there's nothing smarter than putting that bimini up. So what, you can't go 90? Big deal. Put the top up and go 55 or 60 all day long, and you don't have a sunburn at the end of the day. You don't have raccoon eyes. You actually feel good at the end of the day because you haven't gotten scorched by the sun. So high five to Ross and his crew for putting up the bimini and getting out of the hot sun for the day. And a real big shout out to Anthony DiMaggio. Came all the way from Maryland. I didn't MapQuest it, but I think you're talking about 1,000 miles or more to come out here for this poker run. And he brought his 1999 Wellcraft Scarab. So once again, we all know how popular this boat was back in the late 80s and the 90s. And just look at the shape of this one. It's in fantastic condition. He's just taking it easy today. I think the reason that this boat is still around because Anthony knows how to take care of his equipment. And of course, the natural reaction once you see the chopper. Push those throttles forward so we can hear those engines roar. Thanks for coming out all the way, crew. We appreciate having you, and we hope you can make it again next year. And it looks like we're going to catch up now with Team Way Nuts. Hugh Petroni Sr. from West Florida. He's actually from the Pensacola area. 43-foot Nortec Super Cat, a boat that made its poker run debut right here at the Emerald Coast Poker Run back in '03. So fast forward 14 years, and now Hugh's the new owner. And it's nice to see this cool Nortec calling Emerald Coast its home. Altogether, about 9 skaters registered for the Emerald Coast Poker Run. Mark and Diana Santos from Texas, one of the teams who keeps coming back year after year, but this time with a different skater. They spent many, many years in a 36, but now they're in this new 388, and I know that it's probably going to stay white because he really likes his white boats. And that makes a bit of a challenge for us up here in the helicopter with the cameras and video cameras because it blows out the iris. Best time to shoot these boats is early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Slowing things down just a little bit here in Santa Rosa Sound as we catch up with Ms. Marcy. This is Roger Bagwell and his crew from Louisiana. 52-foot Sea Ray hardtop. That means that somebody inside's getting a little air conditioning while everybody outside's having a great old time. And that's exactly what they're doing. Obviously, a very, very spirited team as they are every year. Roger comes back quite often here for this event. So we want to thank Roger and his crew for their continued support. Time for another checkpoint. We call this one number 6. It's the Jeter Residence on Okaloosa Island, also known as the Napkin Stop, but it's really the one that we all know with the big giant American flag. Always a good party going on at the dock here, and actually you can see from the green flag on the left side of the dock, that's what indicates that it's an Emerald class stop along this section of waterway. But we are right in the main section as Brandy reaches out to get her card, but you can't really see, but we're in the main intracoastal here, so it's a little bumpy and there's a lot of traffic. We did get a lot of comments from our participants that they think these aren't the best places for checkpoints because there usually is so much boat traffic going back and forth. So we'll certainly address that when we map out our 2018 Poker Run course. I found a series of shots here that were taken pretty much from the Bay Area through Fort Walton Channel all the way westbound towards Santa Rosa Sound. Now this, in my opinion, is one of the most congested parts of the Poker Run course, and you're about to see why. We thought we would just kind of mix a collage of images in here through that waterway because it pretty much gives you an idea of just how congested these waterways are, not just from the Poker Run, but also all these other boats, cruisers and runabouts, boats that are registered for the Poker Run amount to, I believe about 97 or 98 we had in the Emerald class. Now, of course, the Ruby class had a record number of, I believe, close to 80 boats. So the Ruby class, which didn't exist 4 years ago, came on more recently with smaller local boats, and we welcomed it. I thought it was a great opportunity to bring more boats into the mix. But unfortunately, you're seeing these big high-performance machines like InXS and like Black Diamond, they're canopy boats some of the time. They're very loud. They take a lot of work often for two people to drive, one throttles and one driving. But clearly, the chance of having accidents on a busy weekend in the middle of August when you've got families out still enjoying the summer months, and you've got all these poker runner boats, especially the new class, and they're all running different speeds. Look at this here as Mike and Angela go through in their skater. That boat runs 145 miles per hour. Here's another boat that runs well over 160. A lot of the people that you're seeing here in these shots gave us some feedback in a survey that we sent out after the poker run. And many of them made comments and saying that, where did all these other boats come from, and why do we have so many checkpoints in these congested areas from Fort Walton to Santa Rosa Sound? And I said, well, that's because they added the Ruby class. So essentially they doubled the amount of checkpoints on the course. And a lot of these checkpoints are right in this area from Fort Walton to really to Navarre. And what it's done is it's created way more opportunities for boats to have to slow down quickly. And I think these guys, they don't really want to slow down. They want to keep going. They have high-performance boats. Once they get the boat up on plane, they want to keep it on plane. They want to keep running. And they don't want to be in a situation where spectators are getting in the way or they're overtaking much, much slower boats, and it's not the fault of that other boat. In some cases, they're just registered for the Ruby class, and they're driving at the speed that they normally operate at. The problem is that the Ruby class ends up being on the same course as the Emerald class, so you're putting so much strain on these waterways. And we haven't even talked about Johnny Q. Public, who's got the pontoon boat or the jet ski or the fishing boat or the cruiser. So this, I think, compounds the issue when we try to address safety. And the Florida Powerboat Club has a safety management program. We have a line item on your registration fee. We charge a fee for that, so we can take that money and we could carry it over and do paid duty assignments and get the first responders that we need out on the poker run course, and not at just one end of the course. We need several boats with several emergency responding staff. So that's the fire departments that we hire, the Niceville Fire Rescue, Destin Fire Rescue, Okaloosa County Fire Rescue, all the way out to the west end of the course where we have Navarre and Midway. So we're talking literally dozens of first responders who are on paid duty assignments. And now we have this Ruby class that comes along, and they have insisted, the Emerald Coast Foundation have insisted for the last 4 years that they shouldn't have to pay for that. And I've got a problem with that, and I think that a lot of our other members have a problem with that, because if an incident were to happen, this is where it's going to happen, and it could involve any number of boats. So I think that's one of the reasons that we had to make some changes to our format. When we run a high-performance boating events, we have to have very, very strict safety guidelines. And part of those safety guidelines are having a good safety management program. And if you've got other boaters who are attending and they're not willing to or agreeing that they need to pay for that, then I think it's time to separate the classes. And the two-event format that I came up with was a win-win for everybody, because it kept the existing event and the Ruby class in place on the weekend that it chose to, and that's the second weekend of August typically, and it put now the powerboat format to the third weekend of August. So you have back-to-back weekends. You have essentially a double-header event. I think it's smart for the community. It's a win-win for the boaters because it gives a little more breathing room on the course and allows guys like Jerry Swanson and this big skater to enjoy the performance of his boat. Look at all these guys with these big, fast boats. They want to go. They want to go fast. That's what they like. But we need to create a safe environment and a safe playing ground for them to do that. And you cannot do that when you're mixing John Q. Public, recreational boats, and much slower boats into a very, very tight, congested course. And that's why I made my decision that it was time for the Florida Powerboat Club to move on and get our own weekend a following weekend later. So let's get back with the girls and see how they're doing on the course, and let's continue westbound for some more checkpoints. Now we're going to get another checkpoint here as we pull up to the Reinhold residence. Kayla's like, I want to go get another card. Head that way. Yeah, this is John Reinhold's residence, and if you look underneath, this is a shot we got earlier, the day earlier on Friday. We decided to pull up anyway and just say hi to the gang. Notice the red flag. That's a ruby flag. So this isn't actually a checkpoint for the boat we're on. But like I said, Kayla just loves doing it, so she was practiced for the next stop. Back to the subject earlier, though, of just how many boats are attending and finding a better weekend. It goes without saying that if you have a good event that's a successful event, as the Emerald Coast Poker Run has been for many, many years. Florida Powerboat Club got involved back about 20 years ago, 1998, I believe, is when we started. And once we got behind the event, we supported it. We quickly took the numbers up, brought a lot of powerboaters here. We changed the event format slightly. We raised the event fee because we were bringing more resources to the table, and I think everyone agreed that, at the time it was, I think, $400. But everyone's been very comfortable with the format, and it's worked well. But the event just got big, and that's a good problem to have. And I think some of the local people think it's really bad that the Florida Powerboat Club is going off to do a different format. But you just saw in that frame a second ago, Bo Renfro's big skater coming in close quarters with a sailboat that was going about 2 knots. That's the kind of thing we just don't want to see. But looking at the big picture, now we've got, for the local economy, back-to-back weekends. So we've stretched it out over 2 weekends, and so we're putting more heads in bed, so it's great for local tourism, great for the local merchants, the bars, the restaurants. We're obviously selling a lot of fuel. And then it goes without saying that the charity numbers are going to be better too, because the Florida Powerboat Club, the first thing we did was we appointed a local charity as a beneficiary, because we didn't want the Emerald Coast Foundation to be in a situation where, maybe some of the big spenders aren't going to be there at that final Saturday night party, so maybe their numbers aren't going to be as good as they have been for the last several years. So let's offset that, and let's put some local charity money back into the equation on the following weekend. So I thought it would be quite simple to just keep one of the original charities, the Eleanor Johnson Youth Center, as our sole recipient of charity proceeds. And I called the director, Todd Gatlin, before I left town back in August, and I told him, and he was very excited. He thought it was a great idea. Several months passed by, and I just recently got a phone call from him, and he was very frustrated, and he had to inform me that the Emerald Coast Foundation didn't think it was smart or didn't think it was fair for him to receive funding from the Florida Powerboat Club. So it looks like the saga is about to continue. Stay tuned. And here we are now at another checkpoint in Mariester, just near Santa Rosa Sound, checkpoint number 7, we call it. I believe it was sponsored again this year. It changes every year, and I can't remember who the sponsor was, but you can see the green flag that designates it as a Emerald class checkpoint. Continuing further west from that checkpoint, about another 10 miles or so to get to Navarre. So the course does open up somewhat, but still a tremendous amount of boat traffic coming and going. The girls are taking time to work on their tan, and thanks to Eric Glazer and the team from Midnight Express for giving us a great platform for the boat ride today. Arriving now at the Navarre Bridge, and just getting ready to head to Juanas. Looks like the Florida Fish and Wildlife had stopped aboard one of the boats, and that's kind of a normal routine. They're stationed here, and they're keeping their eye on all the traffic, and it's common to be boarded by Florida Fish and Wildlife. They're not there to hassle you. They're there just for safety reasons. Let's get back with our helicopter crew, who are back in the Fort Walton area, zoning in now on Scott Marcotte from Louisiana with his 39 Hustler. I'm wondering if he's putting the boat back on the trailer. He's near the boat ramp here. Doesn't seem to be moving. I hope he's not broken, but he's got his 386 Hustler, and looks like he's just kind of chilling out. There's the Archambaults. They spend a lot of time here locally. They've got a condo in Destin, but they're from Georgia. This is their Sensation 34 CCX model, a center console powered by triple Mercury Verados, and the boat is called Keeping It Real. They had mostly performance boats when I first met them more than 10 years ago, but this 34 Sensation center console has been a great boat for them. I would have to say that their most memorable trip would have been going to the Bahamas all the way to Abaco and back with this 34 Sensation. And somehow our chopper just loves this Nortec 477. Brad Hancock from Georgia. We had good coverage of him earlier in the show, but looks like the chopper caught up with him again. and actually is going to have a hard time catching up with him because this boat goes well over 100 miles an hour, and I know that the helicopter pilot is really pushing on that stick to get caught up. Brad and several other attendees here at this event are from Georgia. They spend most of their summers on Lake Lanier, but every once in a while they like to get away and try a poker run on the south side of the Florida-Georgia line. And this is certainly a blast from the past, at least it is for me. Bill and Evie Dahl, all the way from Illinois, in a 39-foot Sutphin. And this boat really does date the Florida Powerboat Club because Bill purchased this boat back in 1989. It was a brand new hull, and he rigged it with Lamborghini V12s. And he owns several of these engines just to keep them going. He's the only boat in the club that's ever had Lamborghini power. But 6 times now here at the Emerald Coast Poker Run. Today they're joined by Dennis DeLine, Brenda Morey, Steve and Laura Brinkman, and they really love attending this event every year. They say it's fun time with lots of great people that they meet, and I think that's really what keeps them coming back. Up here in the helicopter now, it looks like we finally made it all the way to the west end of the course. This is Pensacola Beach Boardwalk at Bamboo Willys. We call this checkpoint, and Bamboo Willys is, of course, up in the entertainment complex. But here's the docking situation, which is probably one of the best docks in the whole poker run because they have about 500 feet of face dock here. You can raft up to other boats. And what you can't do is you can't go in as close to the beach as we used to, but no big deal. You can raft the boats up and wander on inside. Of course, it's important to get your first poker card before you go in because remember, you got to get all your cards gathered up. The more you get, the more chances you have of winning that card. Looks like Kayla's going to get her checkpoint number 9 here as she reaches out here to the dock workers, and there she goes. But you'll notice, I know some of you are saying, what happened to checkpoint 8? Well, we didn't actually stop at Juanas. We're going to catch that one on the way back. Some of you wonder why you never make it here to this checkpoint. You really should, because it's about 17 miles from Navarre, so there and back is a total of 34 miles. Really not a lot to add to the course. You guys are running these big high-performance machines, and they're made to go fast, so you should enjoy the course. Speaking of going fast, here is the sister ship to Black Diamond. This is Black Diamond Express, a pair of Mercury Verado 400Rs. And for those of you who are seeing this boat for the first time, I'm going to tell you something that you won't believe, but the front of that boat is a giant fuel cell that actually carries high-octane race fuel, and that's what they use to pump into the big sister ship, the 52 Black Diamond, which has Mercury Racing 1550. So there you have it. Not only is it pretty, not only is it fast, it actually has an intended use, and that is to be a fuel slave to its big brother. And now it's time to pay a visit to checkpoint number 8, Juanes Pagodas in Navarre, and one of the most popular checkpoints on the run year after year. In fact, they have won the Best Checkpoint Award so many times I've lost count, but it's one that they really do deserve because they go out of their way to really make this venue, poker run friendly. And they don't kick out Johnny Q Public either. They make enough space for the poker run boats. In fact, this year, Kevin and his staff allocated a section of waterway, and they put up some buoys and such, and they allowed us to tie the boats all up together. And they also dedicate the pier for getting your cards, so that actually works out quite well, so that the boats can actually come up. Here we are now with Brandy. She's going to reach out and get the poker run card, but this is a Ruby class stop. You can see the red flag, and it's also an Emerald class stop. You can see the green flag. So that's why there's so many boats here. But the reason that everyone loves it is because it's got hundreds and hundreds of feet of sandy beach. For those who get here early enough, you can get a slip on the pier. But look at all of the places where you can hang out here. You've got the sandy beach bar. You've got the sports bar, which is air-conditioned back inside. So there's lots of places to hang out. But right now, the best place to be is out here on the dock with a camera, because you're not going to get a better vantage point than this to get some great pictures of the run. Whether it's a Sensation, whether it's a cruiser, whether it's a big Nortec high-performance V-bottom, it doesn't matter. Every boat here has a spirited crew, and every chance you get is a Kodak moment. So it's time to get those cameras out and use them, because there's plenty of opportunities to get some great pictures. And I just have to shout out to Frank and Molly Tubbs from Alabama and their Fountain 38 for having such a sexy crew. Sorry, girls, I think we should have given you the Sexiest Crew Award, but next time for sure. I'm back on board with our Midnight Express official pace boat, and I'm glad that we had RJ on board with the camera just to give you a nice perspective of what it's like to actually be on the poker run and enjoy the ride from start to finish as the girls jump off the boat and get ready to go have their lunch here at Juanas. There's one of our NorTec participants in a center console, and I think this is the vibe that you really can't get at any of the other checkpoints. Everybody gets to hang out in the beautiful sandy beach with your favorite cold beverage, and if you're hungry, you can go on inside for some great lunch. The weather turned bad really fast, so we got the helicopter on the ground, but that didn't dampen our spirits. The party continued at Juanas, where we joined everyone very soon.
One thing that the Emerald Coast has is beautiful sand, beautiful beaches, beautiful resorts, and beautiful ladies. And today, a lot of beautiful power boats. But those boats aren't going anywhere because we're hanging out here at Juanas at Navarre Beach. It's 4 p.m. We're supposed to be headed back to Fort Walton by now and get ready for the big party. But we're hanging out here because Mother Nature made new plans. A big storm cell blew through here. We had to land the chopper. We had to beach the boats. We had to tie up. We might have even had to have a drink or two, right? But that doesn't matter because we're having fun here on the Emerald Coast Poker Run.
Well, the rain just kept on coming here on this hot August afternoon, and it was pretty much expected, so this isn't something that really dampens our spirits in any way because we just continue to have some fun. And thanks to Kevin and the crew at Juanas, they made our afternoon very, very enjoyable. I really like this new inside bar. It's air-conditioned, full bar, lots of food, and everyone just kind of hanging out, waiting for the rain to stop. But if you planned your day accordingly and you got a good start at 10 a.m. when all the checkpoints opened up, by now you should have gotten all 9 vouchers, and that means when you get to the party tonight, you're going to be playing with 9 cards. And that just increases your chances of winning that Ford F-150 pickup truck, or if you're in the Ruby class, that Harley-Davidson 750 Street from Emerald Coast Harley-Davidson. But right now, nobody's really thinking about the big party tonight. They're not thinking about the grand prize. They're just thinking about how much fun it is to hang out here at Juanas. Earlier in the day, we got a lot of camera shots when it was a little sunnier out, so we're going to let these roll for a little bit, and pretty much gives you an idea of what a festive vibe that Juanas has. And it's not just on Poker Run Day that it's like this. If you'd come here on any given weekend in the summertime, this is the atmosphere that you're going to get at Juanes Pagodas no matter what weekend it is, because it's just such a popular landmark for boaters. In fact, it's probably one of the best places you can go in this area. And not only from the Destin or the Fort Walton area, but boaters will come all the way from Orange Beach, Alabama, or from Pensacola and drive eastbound on the ICW just to come to Juanas for the day. In fact, one time I attended a poker run that was based in Orange Beach, Alabama years and years ago, and this was the checkpoint for the poker run. So this is actually a very hot spot for boaters no matter what direction you're coming from. Always live entertainment here at Juanas, and always a lot of people having a lot of fun. I can't think of a better way to wrap up the day than to finish things off here at Juanes Pagodas. But the best part is we still have about another 25 miles of boating heading back to the Bay Area, Fort Walton Beach, and Destin. The boats are going to be put up for the night. Some people are going to stay in the water and have some fun on Sunday. So there's plenty more action here on the 25th annual Emerald Coast Poker Run. We're going to play out the poker cards tonight at the Emerald Coast Convention Center, give out those grand prizes, and sell all of those charity auction items. But most importantly, we're going to raise a whole bunch of money for local youth charity. This is Stu Jones. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you on the next adventure with members of the Florida Powerboat Club.